Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect. This is a podcast where each week we chat about the world of film, television, and pop culture. This is episode number 188 and we're recording on Sunday, October 2nd, 2016. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
What's up?
Jascha Wilson.
Hey, hey, hey.
And I was going to say Michelle Curry, but I forgot she's not here. So I was going to say it out of habit. Sorry, Michelle.
Force of habit.
Force of habit, and it's in my notes. And I was, I'm guilty. But anyway, sorry Michelle's not here, and hopefully she'll be back next week.
She is missed.
She is.
We miss you, Michelle.
She decided to have fun with her girls' night instead of the guys doing movie talk.
Yeah, I think she's having a little girls' weekend.
Probably better for us because I couldn't wait to talk to her about the Beauty and Beast stills that released earlier this week.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
I think if she were available, she probably wouldn't have come here just for that reason.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm going to get chastised the shit out of the next time I talk to her because of that, because we were really going in over the weekend.
So, obviously, for those listening, what we're talking about is, and we can start with this, but there was some news. And we'll talk about this. And I know we probably talked about it on News Effect, but there's the Beauty and the Beast stuff that's been coming out and I guess getting leaked. And yeah, she is still playing by her, avoiding everything. Like she takes the Bobby level to a full extreme. Like I'm not looking at shit. Yeah. And we've been kind of joking with her, like how awesome this stuff looks, but she still refuses to look at it.
It looks beautiful. It's so magical. It's like they just dance off the screen.
It's amazing how, I'm one way and she definitely doubled it because she's literally looking at nothing, no news, no pictures, no video or trailers or anything.
And it's just
it is closed off.
And I just don't see how she'll be able to keep up with that, though. I
don't either.
At some point, she's not going to be able to avoid it.
Especially when they go for the full court press, when is getting close down to coming out. I don't know how she's going to avoid it.
It's not going to be possible. At some point, she's going to see an image. It's going to have to happen.
Bobby did a pretty good job of avoiding all things Star Wars, except for the fact that he read every piece of media that he could get his hands on when it came to
at least
Star
Bobby
Wars.
was looking at pictures though. You were willing to look at images.
It's easier to avoid video because you have to click on something to see that. And then, if you're watching TV, I record everything, so it's easy to skip past stuff when I'm watching TV. So it was easy to avoid the video stuff, but and I could have avoided the pictures if I wanted to, but yeah, just to avoid it all, that's almost next to impossible.
Yeah, but
it'll only last for so long. I'll put it that way. She can get away with it now because it's still early.
Right.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I think we can all agree to that.
Yeah, I would like to see if she can make it all the way through without getting spoiled on anything. That will be very, very interesting to see how she does it. She does have somewhat of the means in the fact that I believe she doesn't have cable, so she watches a lot of cut the cord stuff through Hulu and stuff like that. So she's probably able to not have to worry about commercials. But then with her doing the show, I'm sure she probably looks at news feeds to a certain degree. So who knows if at some point in time something just sort of appears in the news feed in a way that spoils something that she doesn't want to have spoiled. So
the thing is too, though, eventually, I know she's active on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure she's fairly active on Facebook. Stuff's going to get shared.
True.
I don't know. I think it's funny that she's going so full court press on this, but I'll be impressed if she could pull it off and go to this movie and having never seen an image of Emma Watson as Belle. I'll be you know what? Kudos to you.
Right.
But then I would be fearful of what it would, then you're going into a movie with these absolutely no idea what you're getting into and whatever preconceived ideas you have. That's an interesting experience that I'll never have, a movie like that, having never seen anything,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
I say we all send her just pictures and just flood her text messages.
Oh god, she won't talk to us for a month.
Exactly. She would never talk to us again.
And you don't live near her. It's not fair.
This is true. I'm about 3,000 miles away and out of reach and she has no physical way of getting to my throat immediately. So,
and David lives closer than ever now. So,
oh yeah, much closer than before. But anyway, we missed last week, and we're back. Plenty to talk about.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
It is good to be back. I'm glad I was able to make it. I've been under the weather quite a bit the past couple weeks, and I almost thought I was going to make it tonight, but luckily here I am. So, excuse my voice if it sounds kind of funky.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling better today. It's been rough though. It has not been fun at all. But no, I'm doing pretty good today. Throbbing headache though, I think because I haven't had coffee in like 4 days.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do that headache, that coffee headache.
But anyway, so some movies came out. I'll just start off right off the bat with saying that I haven't seen any movies this week, but I did watch some Luke Cage. But we'll talk about Luke Cage later. So I'm going to go to you guys first and ask, what have you guys been watching lately? Bobby, what movies have you seen?
You know, I'll get to the movie stuff, but we also had some stuff appear on TV since the last time we talked.
That's true.
Fall preview,
I have seen some of that as well.
Yeah, so there was fall TV season that started up, and I did watch a few new shows. Actually, I'm surprised I didn't watch as many as I thought I did. I was trying to remember everything because I was going to talk about some of it last week, and either I've forgotten something or I didn't see as much as I thought I did. But what I did see was one of the shows was The Good Place, which was it has Kristen Bell and Ted Danson in it, and the premise of the show is that Kristen Bell she has died and gone to heaven, and Ted Danson plays like the angel. I think his name is I want to say he's Gabriel, but he's an angel, or Michael's his name, and he essentially is like the tour guide to heaven and explains how people have gotten to heaven. And basically it's like almost next to impossible to get to heaven. It's like, as he explains it, pretty much only 1% of people ever get to heaven. And so you really got to be a good person to get there. Well, you end up discovering that somehow heaven has made a mistake and Kristen Bell is in there by accident. And she ends up getting this, when you get to heaven, you're automatically introduced to your soulmate. And so she meets her soulmate, and she ends up kind of letting him in on her secret that she's not supposed to be there. And then she essentially tries to feel like she wants to be a good person so she can earn her place there. And she gets him to kind of help her and teach her how to be a good person. And the show is actually pretty funny. I found it... if you kind of like the level of sense of humor of like a Modern Family, or to a certain degree like a Pushing Daisies or something around that kind of feel, it's pretty much on par with that kind of humor. And I thought it was like one of my favorite characters actually in there is the person that plays Kristen Bell's soulmate. His name is William Jackson Harper. And he plays kind of really like the straight-laced person. So him playing off of how bad of a person Kristen Bell is pretty funny. It actually provides a lot of humor. And him being sort of the straight man ends up having a lot of the funny parts to it, in my opinion. And I believe this show, I want to say it was produced or one of the guys from Supernatural did this show. I can't remember if it was Eric Kripke or not, but I remember there was someone else that I had recognized from being like a producer on the show. But anyways, like I said, I thought it was pretty good. I think if anyone wants to check it out for a new comedy, which there hasn't been that many great ones lately, you should check that one out.
Cool. See, I don't know, man. I want to interject just a little bit before we move on to that. Like, I've watched a couple of the episodes of this show, and I found it kind of underwhelming. Like, it had a few moments where it was pretty funny, and it had, a little bit laugh out loud. And I will agree with you that William Jackson Harper is probably the best straight man for the role, I did find it a little predictable in the sense, and I honestly don't see it really lasting for very long because I don't know. It seems predictable. It seems kind of very set up, and I don't know. It just there's something missing from me, and I don't even come close to relating it to Modern Family. The writing on Modern Family, I just watched their season premiere this past week, and it's still just brilliant. Like how they have everything kind of rolling in together, and everybody matching and meshing together, and having the storylines really work. I still find that show absolutely brilliant and just wonderful to watch. This one, I've watched a couple of the episodes, and I found it underwhelming, and I just kind of was like, okay, this is kind of entertaining, but I haven't really gone back to continue watching it.
That's interesting. No, for me, it's like I don't watch too many comedies these days. They don't really make me laugh. But so far, every episode has had me laugh at least a couple times, just caught by surprise, laughing out loud kind of moments. And for me, since that's doesn't happen too much with comedies these days, it feels very, very much like something that will keep me tuning in. Even if it doesn't last, I think I'll still stick with it until they cancel it or whatever the place may be, or whatever the case may be.
Cool.
Right on. I mean, to each his own. We've disagreed on stuff before. I mean, it's like I said, I find it just okay. I don't really find it like that. Like, oh my gosh, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. I have started watching. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to take a look at Speechless. That came out. We just finished its second episode this past week, and that stars Minnie Driver and a few other actors that I'm forgetting, but I intend to look up. But it's that is actually really funny. Really laugh out loud. I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Kripke on The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, no, I know who you're talking about.
He's in it, and he plays the lead, the male, the father figure lead, John Ross Bowie, Minnie Driver, and then Cedric Yarbrough. I've seen him in a few other things, and I'm not sure if he's a stand-up or was a stand-up comedian, but he's really funny when he does things. And this is just a really twisted show. Like it's just laugh out loud funny. I've laughed several times at this very inappropriate, wildly inappropriate humor that at times I'm not sure I should be laughing at, but I do find myself really laughing hard at it.
No, I haven't. I've seen it out there, but I haven't watched it, so couldn't speak on it. I guess I should continue on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the other shows that I watched was This Is Us that came on NBC. This one, I had no plans to watch that actually, and I think it was just because it was premiere week, and I was kind of looking at some of the reviews. So I was like, okay, let me look at it. Let me check it out. And it stars Milo Ventimiglia, Mandy Moore, Sterling K. Brown, Chrissy Metz, and Justin Hartley. And I don't know how to describe it other than it's kind of like a show that's sort of like Parenthood, which is one of those family kind of dramas where it's just that's kind of their episode to episode is the life of these people, and you're kind of seeing their specific dramas at whatever, almost like their age. There's their young couple, there's the older couple, sort of like that kind of thing. Whereas in this one, it's you see these different stories of people that they have no like real connection to each other, and you're just kind of wondering what's going on, but everything kind of gets explained towards the end of the episode. So it's hard for me to really talk about it other than to say that I did enjoy the first episode, and I haven't watched the second episode. And part of that is because it felt like when I watched the first episode that it was almost very, it almost like you'd have to see it to understand what I'm saying, but it's like it kind of wrapped itself up
right
within the first episode. So it's like you kind of don't need to see.
That was a
more.
nice little 1 hour film, or
yeah,
it was
exactly.
1 hour, right?
So
yeah.
you saw it too, David?
Yeah, I did watch it too.
How would you kind of describe it? Because I can't think of the words to say.
Oh, I don't know.
In a way.
This was a show too that I probably wouldn't. Like you said, I didn't have really intention ahead of time to be like, man, I can't wait to watch that show. I mean, it looked fine, but it wasn't the kind of show that was like my cup of tea necessarily. But my Facebook feed was kind of blowing up with a lot of people like, oh my God, that was so good. It was such a great show. Oh my God. And I was like, all right, fine. I'll watch this. And I really enjoyed it. Now, how would I describe it? That I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a feel good kind of family drama.
Oh, you know what? Here we go. I'll read the IMDb.
Okay.
That'll maybe help some people out. A group of people with the same birthday, including Rebecca and Jack, a married couple expecting triplets in Pittsburgh, Kevin, a handsome television actor growing bored of his fly bachelor lifestyle, and Kate, his funny and sweet heavy-set twin. So that's about as much as they give you. And that is kind of like what you do see within the beginning, is that these people seem to have the same birthday, but you don't know much more than that.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the show. It was quite good. But I'm like you. I've only seen the first episode so far. I haven't watched the second episode yet. But I intend to. I'll probably keep watching it and see how it goes.
Oh, cool. So then, yeah, you definitely enjoyed it.
I mean, if I can fit it in, of course.
Well, yeah, of course. We know you and how things tend to happen.
I know.
But at least the fact that you actually liked it and would want to watch it again says a lot. So
that's huge. I'll attest to that. That's huge. Now, if you can continue with that, then that's awesome. But
I will do my best.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. The other one I watched was Designated Survivor, and that's been on my radar for a minute because it has Kiefer Sutherland in it, and I love watching that guy on pretty much anything. So it was a sure lock that I would watch that one. And since I'm on IMDb, I'll read that description. It says, a low-level cabinet member becomes president of the United States after a catastrophic attack kills everyone above him in the presidential line of succession. And yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people sort of comparing it to 24, and I get why, but it's not necessarily that, but it does have that sort of actually it kind of has that same feel that a lot of ABC type of shows of this nature have, where it's kind of where you have to tune in every week, sort of like How to Get Away with Murder, or some of the other ones that have sort of come before it, where each week is building into the procedural of what's going on and who caused what and how's it gonna sort of all wrap up. But you don't know in that sense what the story end line would be, if it's a season, 2 seasons, whatever the case may be. But I like this one because in this one, Kiefer Sutherland, he's not like a badass. He's just this kind of regular guy. And he has to have all this pressure put upon him that he never expected to have to be president all of a sudden, after pretty much the day he was elected as president, or had to be sworn in as president, was the same day he went into the office and was getting fired from his position because they didn't want to do, I think, one of the projects he was working on, and just didn't really sort of like him as a person, as in terms of a government official. So he ends up being in this role, and then everyone's starting to question him in terms of, should he even be in this position? And he has to do the best that he can. And then, of course, he has this family that is brought along for the ride, and you kind of see the inner politics of just the family and how they work. And I would say, actually, that's probably one of the weaker spots for me, or at least within the family dynamic with the son, because it's kind of the typical story where there's always the kid that has the issues or the problems, and he kind of, or at least this character will get on your nerves in the sense of like, why you gotta be so stupid? But aside from that, when they're not really showing that part of it, and it's dealing with him being the president, it's pretty good. I'm definitely in. I've already watched the first 2, I guess it's been, and I'm in. And I saw that it got a full season pickup, so it's definitely going to be on. So I'm going to continue on with that one as well. Did you guys get a chance?
I didn't get a chance to see that, but I think I saw the same article that you did, Speechless, and this show got a full season pickup. which I just haven't committed to it. Like, I feel like there are enough dramas that I kind of get sucked into. I really didn't need to watch this one. I got a kind of a subpar review from a friend of mine too. Now he's nowhere near on the level that, where, we talk about films and stuff like that, but he was just being funny. He kept saying, I kept expecting him to kind of walk out with a gun and just start kicking everybody's ass after a while, because he watched the first episode and he was just like, I'm just so used to seeing him in 24, and it felt like 24, and I just kept wanting him to have a gun and bust out and just completely go to town, but he never did.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing you didn't like about it, though. Like,
yeah, that's the thing he didn't like about it. He wanted legitimately. That's the thing that's the thing he didn't like about the show, because he wanted
that it wasn't 24.
Yeah, he wanted something that it wasn't basically what it came down to. And he said it was good, and he did say but he was, like I said, he was just trying to be funny,
right.
I said, it was like, oh, okay, but it was okay. He's like, yeah, it was a decent show. He's like, I don't know if I'll keep watching it, but it was okay. And I was like, right on, that's fair.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched the first episode, and I think I fall in the it's okay club. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I think when it comes to political shows like this, I think I'm probably forever ruined by my love of The West Wing. And even though this isn't trying to be that by any means, trust me, I know that, but still, like, there's something about, like, West Wing did its best, I believe, it felt very realistic, even though we all know nothing's going to be really that realistic on TV, but still it felt that way. And when I watched this set in that same setting in the White House, it's just something about it that looks so not real. And especially like the super ultra high tech war room, where I'm like, please, come on. This is insane. Stuff like that I just cannot help but constantly roll my eyes at. And so I don't know, that kind of stuff, it doesn't do it for me. But I mean, I do like Kiefer Sutherland in it. I didn't watch 24, so I don't have to worry about that problem of comparing it to that, So, but
wait, David, did you just say you didn't watch 24?
No, never got into that. Never watched it.
Did you try it?
No.
Dude, the first, all kidding aside, like, the first season was really good.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, everybody I've talked to loves it. I don't doubt it. I never got in. I never jumped in, and I don't know. I never did.
Yeah, I remember you saying that before, so I didn't. It's not a surprise to me, but I mean, it surprised me at the time for sure, based on the things I know you like, and it was kind of like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't watch that. But yeah.
But yeah, this show, I mean, it was, again, but in the end, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was kind of interesting, and I could see, I mean, I'm slightly interested to see where it goes from here, though, already you see some of the, like, conniving drama they're adding into it, like in that first episode, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm just gonna be like, God, this is just gonna irritate me. And I don't know, I might watch the second episode to see, but let's be honest, I probably won't. So
yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can barely make time for a show that you really, really, really like, I can't imagine you making it for a show you thought was just okay.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It was just okay. It didn't really do it for me. And speaking of the family, by the way, that actress that plays his wife, Natasha McAlone, I don't know if I'm getting her last name right. I don't think she ever ages. Like, she just looks the same forever. Like, I mainly know her from Californication, and it's been a while since I was on the air. But man, she looks the same. I just have to throw that out there. Anyway.
No, yeah, you're right. It's for me. I don't remember specifically what I know her from, but I know I've seen her in other things. And yeah, she kind of always looks the same, which is good because she's an attractive woman. But yeah, she never seems to age much.
But those were all the shows you watched? All the new shows?
Oh, no, one of the other ones that I did watch, which I really wasn't going to watch it. I just decided to after seeing a few commercials, and one of the commercials I think hooked me onto saying, okay, let me give it a try. And that was a Lethal Weapon. Oh. And I mean, I don't really need to say what it's about other than to say Damon Wayans is in it. And then I'm not sure the other actor's name who plays Riggs, but I can't think of his name. But I mean, the first episode kind of gives you the same sort of flavor of the movie where they're kind of meeting and they're reluctant partners, and Riggs has the same issues that he had in the movie. I mean, it's really literally kind of the same essence. It's just two different actors playing the roles. And I have to say, I oddly enough enjoyed it, and I think the reason why I enjoyed it was because of the chemistry between the two actors. When they're not doing the sort of case of the week kind of thing, and getting into the kind of trouble that Murtaugh and Riggs usually get into, but they're just kind of bonding and vibing as partners. I think I really enjoyed that aspect of the show, and it made me tune in to watch the second episode, which you get more of that. And yeah, I really do enjoy it, and I think I'm on board. It's odd because I didn't really think that I would be able to watch that at all and get into it, but I think I really just enjoy the camaraderie and the friendship that these two characters share, which is one of the aspects of what makes the movies work so well. So the fact that they kind of got that down, especially early within the first couple episodes for me, just I don't know, it was surprising. So I ended up liking it and will follow along with it.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I do think you gave me grief for it because I said that I was going to be willing to give that a shot, and it looked interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And and I've watched the episodes too, and you know what? Like I said, it's like I'm in until they cancel it. Probably, like I'm just kind of like I've watched it. I'm just like, hey, this isn't that bad. It's kind of entertaining. Like it's not the movie, and no. I don't think anything will ever be Lethal 1, 2, or 3. I mean, after a while they started to get a little ridiculous, and I think everybody can attest to that. But I mean, I still watch the movies, and if they were to do another one, I'd probably go watch that one. Because I enjoyed the movies, and I think I like Damon Wayans, and I like to support what he does. I'll give it a shot, and I wanted to see how he portrayed this character, and I think he's doing a pretty good job of it. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. I did not see it, so and I can't say I have much interest, but yeah. But that's all you watched? All TV
well, that's
anyway?
all. That's all. Yeah, that's all my TV stuff that I watched.
Well, I was going to say, while we're talking about TV, I'll go real quick. I don't know if you watched anything else Jascha on TV, but I watched the only other thing I saw was Son of Zorn. I watched the first episode of that.
I watched that.
And it was interesting for sure. I will actually probably watch more episodes of it. Like I said, I've only seen the first episode. It wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be, but I feel like it has promise. Like I feel like maybe whatever issues I kind of have with that first episode are the kind of typical pilot issues, and it could get better. So, but yeah, it was kind of disappointing. But the show like that's a 30-minute show, easy to fit in. I could see I'll have time to be like, oh, okay, I could watch this real quick, and it's an easy watch. So I'll probably watch some more episodes. But did you watch any more than the first, Jascha?
I watched the first and the second episode so far, and I'm with you, David. It's like it feels promising, but it feels like they're tapering it back because for whatever reason, I don't know, like the censors or something like that. They're just trying to be overly cautious, but it does hint to give you a sense of intrigue. Like you want to know where this is going, what they're going to do. And I mean, I like Jason Sudeikis, and he voices Zorn, and the actors in it do a really good job of placing this guy in kind of like a fish out of water story, and he's indifferent about, has his rules and things like that, and everybody's kind of like just accepting of this guy who doesn't look like anybody, and is from this far out land, and he just drops these names of like, I was attacked by this bird or blah 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 blah. And everybody just kind of takes it all in stride. Like it's really odd and it's kind of weird, but it's humorous at the same time. So I'll give it a shot. Like I'm kind of interested in watching and seeing where it goes.
Cool.
Did anybody give King of Queens .2 a chance?
No.
I take it you did.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Oh, you didn't. Okay.
I saw a trailer for it and I was like, so King of Queens 2.0. No, thank you. I'm okay. Should we take bets as to see how long that lasts on TV, or are we?
Oh, I believe it'll last because it's on CBS. So I think.
True.
they'll be just fine over there.
Did you watch anything else on TV, Jascha?
How about no? Anybody watch MacGyver?
No.
I heard that got picked up as well.
Yeah.
What's so funny, man? Share the joke.
No, it's funny because if I was taking bets before the season started, I would have thought that would have been the show that would have got 2 episodes and canceled. But yet again, I underestimated the CBS audience because that show premieres on a Friday and it gets 10 million viewers. And apparently the second week was still pretty strong. And I'm like,
I saw that too.
Never guessed that.
I would have never guessed that too. And I saw that as well. And I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm kind of like, I haven't seen any of the show. I haven't watched any of it, but I just going by the trailer, I'm like, okay, this looks like the A-Team Part 3 or Part 4, because we have the A-Team that came out in the 80s. Then we had Leverage. Then we have the Scorpion Group or whatever and stuff like that. And now we have MacGyver, a team of individuals that do what nobody else can do. Anybody else picking up on this?
I mean, they like that formula stuff over there on CBS, apparently, because it's just most shows during the week don't do 10 million. And for Friday, it's mind-boggling that it did that well. So, I mean, I guess you can never count out a show of a procedural kind of show on CBS, because if it hits with the audience, it hits big.
It really does. If it resonates with them, they're all about it.
So, I guess then going to movies. Bobby?
Yeah, so going back into the movie realm, I watched another movie for my 6 sessions of horror, and this week I watched a movie called The Invitation, and it's kind of like one of those movies where it's not specifically like some boogeyman kind of horror movie. It's one of those ones almost like a thriller where it's the human element involved, sort of like The Gift or Green Room, of that nature, those type of movies. Hush would be another one that's actually on Netflix that's pretty good. And this one it's about this guy and his girlfriend that get invited to this dinner party that his ex-wife and her new husband are throwing, and they invite a lot of their friends, or at least their old friends that they haven't seen in a while. And it sort of starts off kind of where you're seeing his guy's past life and why he and his ex-wife have split up. And as the dinner party goes on, the new couple, I should say, his ex-wife and her husband start talking about this vacation that they went on, and they show this video of like a retreat that they went on, and it ends up sort of being like seemingly like a cult that they went to, talking about how the passing of life into the next world is something that should be, I guess, treated as a communal experience. And so these people at this dinner party are all kind of freaked out by it, but they don't think much of it. And then some more incidents start to happen, and it kind of derails from there. But I would say that it's pretty slow and very it sort of plods along for the first hour. I think it's about hour and 40 minutes, but then towards the last 30 minutes is really where it picks up. So I don't know. I would suggest if you're going to watch this one, you kind of could watch like the first 20 minutes and then just fast forward towards the end to really kind of get to the meat of it, because the other stuff that happens in between is it just doesn't have that sort of feel to it to where it keeps you interested in terms of building the tension to where it's going. It just kind of, like I said, plods along. But yeah, it wasn't that great. It was just kind of just okay, and it's on Netflix, so I guess if you did want to watch it some night, you could just pop it on and kind of do as I suggested. So that was The Invitation. Movies in the theater that I watched, starting with last week, I watched The Magnificent Seven, the movie with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio, I'm forgetting some people, I'm sure, but it was honestly, I enjoyed it a lot, and I didn't know how I would feel going into it, other than I've seen the original and I've seen Seven Samurai, which the original was based off of, the original Magnificent Seven. So it's been a while since I've seen those movies. So I was going into this one with no expectation of having it try and live up to either of those movies. It's just going in trying to find something that would be entertaining. And sure enough, that's exactly what it is. To me, it's a perfect, if I had to describe it, it's like the perfect summer movie that's not in summer, because it's just uh entertaining kind of popcorn movie where there's things about it that you could easily kind of pick at for sure, but ultimately, if you're just kind of going in and going in for this kind of thrill ride, that's exactly what you get, because especially when it builds to that last sort of setting with the showdown, that part's pretty, it's shot well, and it's just a lot of good action going on, where it's not like typical movies where you see today where the camera's all over the place, or quick cuts and shaky cam and all that. It's just well done. You get long shots and you get to see everything unfolding in a way that just, it looks pleasing. And so I really enjoyed it. And I think I thought for me the standouts, even though Chris Pratt is kind of just playing Chris Pratt once again, I still found him to be charming and entertaining in the movie. So I did like his character, and then I also liked Vincent D'Onofrio's character, because that guy, I mean, every time you see him, you compare him to one character to the next or to his last, and they're also different between Kingpin and the character he played in Jurassic World, and then in Magnificent Seven, they're also different, and he just pulls off things that he does very well. And so, if you haven't seen it, I would suggest seeing it, because, like I said, I thought it was a very good sort of fall action movie, but could have been a good summer action movie as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I'll agree with Bobby. It was a lot of fun to watch. I don't think that it held very strongly against maybe somebody who's a purist, who doesn't, who wants it to be the Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner and the rest of the cast. It's just not that, but Peter Sarsgaard made an amazing villain, but he always does. He plays a villain a lot. Halle Bennett was really good in the movie. Vincent D'Onofrio, as Bobby said, he's brilliant in just about everything that he does. And I mean, Chris Pratt, like he said, kind of plays Chris Pratt, but he still did a little bit different, but he was really good. And Denzel is Denzel. He just did really well in the movie. Like, it was just a fun, like he said, it was the best summer fall movie that you could watch. And it's full of action. It's full of quips, people being a badass. And it was an enjoyable movie. I enjoyed it. I maybe wanted a few more fight scenes, or kind of to show how badass some of these characters were, but it was a really, really good movie. Byung-Hun Lee was amazing in the movie. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun movie.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. It was like you were saying, as far as it being one of those movies where Denzel, it's like, I didn't mention him, but he's almost just so automatic at this point. You just already know that he's good. You almost don't have to mention him being good, because you just know he's going to be good in it. So he was absolutely good in it as well, that I didn't mention. But and yeah, Peter Sarsgaard, as you said, he typically plays the villain, and I will say, he's very cartoonish as a villain in a sense, but he still plays it up pretty well in terms of how evil he is. But yeah, it's something he does well. It's in his wheelhouse. Is that it for me? No.
No.
Oh, well, you say it as though I have a ton of stuff that I watch, David. Why do you say it like that?
I mean, you might. You might have a few things.
Yeah, I do actually. Okay, so the other thing that I watched was Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children, and that one is directed by Tim Burton, and it's been one of the movies where he hasn't really directed anything in a while. So seeing him kind of return to form in this, where it's this premise that's kind of wild and out there, And for anyone that doesn't know, it's these group of children that live in this home that is run by Miss Peregrine, played by Eva Green, and these kids have these special abilities, kind of almost like how mutants have in the comic book world, and they live in this loop of a day that takes place, I believe it was like September 3rd, 1943, and it's right before a bomb kind of hits and destroys their home, and they kind of can live within this loop every day, and they have to repeat that day. But they are not in the sense where it's sort of a Groundhog's Day. They don't really show that kind of aspect to it, not really. But it's just that they kind of will live throughout their days and never age, just going through this time loop. But then there's these evil beings called Hollows that are trying to seek immortality, and the way they do it is by eating the eyes of these young children that have these abilities. And so it's a little bit morbid in that sense, but there's definitely a touch
little?
of that, Tim. No. Well, there's I was going to say there's definitely a touch of that, a little touch of that Tim Burton kind of magic that he does with certain things within this movie. Because if you've seen like a Beetlejuice or the or even Nightmare Before Christmas, there's sort of this little bit of stop motion animation that kind of takes place within some of the scenes that he's known for, he's done in the past, and other aspects of Tim Burton that are in this. And it, like I said, it's definitely within his wheelhouse. And I thought the movie was okay. I wouldn't say anything bad about it. I just honestly feel like, as an adult that's seen so much since I guess some of his earlier stuff, with us being in a world where we've got all kinds of superhero movies and TV shows out, this feels like it would have been like really awesome to me if it came out in 1996, because it would have been before a lot of this stuff had hit. Whereas now a lot of the wonder is lost, and you're seeing these things and it's like, I mean, they're doing this differently, but it's not anything that is special or stands out in a way that's different than what's going on. So I really feel like it would have been something, or at least in today's day and age, I feel like this would be perfect for someone that's between the ages of like 8 and 12 or 8 and 13. An adult can still watch it and enjoy it for what it is, but I really think it hits harder with a younger audience, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think I've said on here before, this really didn't hold any interest for me, mainly for the reasons everything you just said. You know, just it looks like more of like, oh, it's like X-Men but kids. Okay. And I mean, I've loved previous Tim Burton stuff, but I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me really at all.
Well, I'm interested, but I was interested, I should say, until after, hearing Bobby's review of it, I'm definitely probably going to wait. Like, and it's not to say that he didn't say that he didn't like it. It just, the fact that it does seem exactly like what we thought it might be, and predictable in the sense of like, this is something that should have come out like, 20 years ago. And, now we're just kind of watching all the same stuff over and over again. I have no desire to go and spend my time on that and really just kind of pander to it, Not to say that it's probably not, it might be entertaining, but I'd rather watch other stuff.
It's definitely a step up from the stuff Tim Burton's been doing in the past, but as we've just all sort of agreed, it's nothing new to where you feel like, oh, this is sort of having a different conversation or a different take on the genre that's sort of popular right now. So it's kind of more of the same, but just aimed at a different audience, I believe. And I guess the final thing that I did watch in theaters was Deepwater Horizon. And this was the movie that was based off of the deep water, or the explosion that happened on the oil rig back in 2010 that became one of the worst oil spills in U.S. history. And it has Mark Wahlberg in it, and Kurt Russell, and his isn't that his daughter-in-law?
Kate Hudson?
Yeah, is that his daughter? Is that him and Goldie Hawn? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to remember if it was or not. But yeah, so they're all in this movie, and it's directed by Peter Berg. And I don't know if you guys are aware of some of the Peter Berg stuff that he's done in the past, but I really like him as a director. He was an actor back in the early 80s, and didn't do much acting after that, and kind of just concentrated on directing. But a lot of the stuff that he did that I'm sure you guys have recognized would be like Lone Survivor was one that he had did. He did the film version for Friday Night Lights. He also had did one that I never did see. So for me, in my eyes, he's still got a really good record, which was Battleship.
I was going to say.
I heard bad things about it, and I didn't particularly think I was interested, even with or without him being attached to it. So I just never watched it. So for me, he still has a really good record of good movies that he's put out. And this movie, once again, it was very solid. It was like exactly what you expect, just showing this human element of surviving something that's very tragic. And it's sort of along the lines of like a Sully, where it's a recent event and people can remember it, but they didn't probably know all the intricate details that kind of went into it. And it's sad because what you really sort of see in this movie is it all could have been prevented if the people from BP weren't being cheap and didn't want to not run tests that would cost them, well, essentially, they didn't want to run a test that would cost them about $200,000, and they're $1 billion corporation. And so because of that, they skimped on some things, and it ended up causing this whole huge ordeal. And it was good. I like I said, I definitely enjoyed it. It was another solid film for Mark Wahlberg as well as Peter Berg, because they've been tied together in a couple films. So if you're interested in it, I would say it's worth seeing in the theater, because there's a lot of, I don't know how they really do the special effects for something like that. I'm sure they had this film on some sort of oil rig, but then when you get to the parts where there's explosions and everything else, and that has to be special effects, it's pretty impressive. And it's another one of those that sort of builds tension, because you kind of know that event is going to happen, right, and you're waiting for the event to hit. And once it hits, it's like you're just kind of gripping the seat, because you don't know who survives or what happens to anyone in the movie, unless you really know the story really well and know these people, and not just the characters that are being portrayed as such on screen. So yeah, for me, it was kind of thrilling seeing the whole thing unfold and getting to witness the aftermath of it.
And for those that don't know, Peter Berg is a pretty fun director. It's not just Battleship. I mean, if you've seen Battleship and you didn't like it, like I thought the movie was just okay, but he directed such movies. He directed Hancock. He directed The Rundown. And I'll take it back to 98. If you ever watched Very Bad Things and you enjoyed dark humor, he directed that, and it has a ton of celebrities in that movie. But The Rundown with The Rock, when he first started out with this action roles and really kind of became, I feel like his movie star status was really kind of being solidified. I like Peter Berg, and I like Peter Berg's work, and I even think he's fun when he's an actor.
Yeah, and he's also doing the Patriots Day, which, if I'm not mistaken, that has Mark Wahlberg in it as well, which it's about the bombing in Boston during the marathon. So that comes out this year as well.
Cool. Jascha, did you watch any movies?
I did. I watched. God, it was so memorable. I forgot it. Masterminds. Masterminds. I went and saw this true story that happened back in the 90s, largest American heist of cash. And you know what? It was okay. Like, it wasn't as funny as I really was hoping it would be. I felt like they tried to make it very over the top and make these characters very outrageous. Kate McKinnon was in it. Kristen Wiig, Jason Sudeikis, Zach Galifianakis, Owen Wilson, Leslie Jones, Mary Elizabeth Ellis. I mean, they all did a good job of doing the role that they were given. I just don't feel like the movie was very solid. And then I started reading articles after the movie that the real story was actually funnier than the movie. So it's like, it kind of makes me wonder, what did they change to try and Hollywood it up that's going to make it basically not succeed? The outtakes, were a little bit funnier than some of the movie itself. And that's sad to say, and that's, frustrating to say, but it's was it okay? yeah, would I recommend to somebody to see it? No, probably not. I would definitely recommend seeing it like a rental or it's on HBO. Yeah, take your time and watch it. It's it'll for a cheap laugh, but it wasn't. It was very underwhelming, I guess you could say. And I mean, I know I use that word a lot, but it's. I watched it and I was like, okay, this is good. But I was starting to doze off a couple of times in the movie, and that's never good. So I mean, it was fun and it was interesting for the most part. But as far as like, oh, this is just laugh out loud, hilarious, funny. No, it really wasn't that. So it was just kind of there.
That's too bad, especially with that cast.
Yeah, you would think. You would think with the cast. You would think with the cast that they have that you would just get this laugh out loud hysterical film, and that's really what I went in looking for. I was like, oh, this is going to be so funny. I can't wait. And I walked in, and about 10 minutes into the movie, I was like, huh, all right. So this is not funny. That wasn't funny. That wasn't funny either. Okay. It was, yeah, like I said, it was just okay, but it wasn't anything that I would just sit there and be like, oh, this is amazing. And that's unfortunate because I love all the actors that were in the movie. Like, I dig Leslie Jones. I really love Kate McKinnon. I like Zach Galifianakis. I like Owen Williams, Kristen Wiig, Jason Sudeikis. These are all essentially like a Saturday Night Live reunion. Not to mention, these are all like the comedy heads right now that are out there. These are the people producing the comedies for us. Right. And it wasn't landing.
I was just gonna say it's almost the full cast for Ghostbusters.
Minus one.
Melissa McCarthy's the only one missing.
Yeah, we were just missing Melissa McCarthy.
Cool. Well, we got a little bit of time left, so what?
Wait, hold on.
Wait, what?
Not so fast.
We don't got a lot of time left, man. So we got to talk about Luke Cage.
I know, but you did see a movie as well.
Yeah, I saw a movie that it's a year and a half old.
That's okay. I was waiting to hear your thoughts. I didn't ask you off air, so I kind of want to know.
So you're talking about, I saw 2 days ago, as I mentioned, I've been under the weather. So I've been sitting around watching some things, and I was like, you know what? I never saw Jurassic World because it was released the weekend my daughter was born. So since I didn't see it that opening weekend, it just kind of never made it. And I know it's even been on video for a long time now. And in fact, I didn't even have to rent it. It's on HBO now. So that's how I watched it. And it was a perfect film too to watch in my state where I was just like, you don't feel good and you're just sitting there wanting to watch stuff, but you don't necessarily want to watch stuff where you really probably even have to think too much because you just don't feel like thinking, And that's why I kind of sought it out because that popped in my head that I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen Jurassic World. That would be perfect. And I found it and watched it and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I liked it a lot actually.
Nice.
So, now I can be excited about the sequel, but, I enjoyed it. I mean, there's not much to say about it. Like I said, like everybody knows it's been around for a while now, but,
well, I can ask you a question because at the time, while everybody obviously loved it and it did great at the box office, people did have certain issues with it. And part of it is sort of the same sort of thing where people have talked about how with The Force Awakens and with Jurassic World, they kind of just sort of not repeated the same steps as the originals, but you could definitely feel that imprint on them. And did you have a problem with the way it kind of felt similar to the original Jurassic Park?
No, because it felt like it was paying homage to the original Jurassic Park, but it was doing what a lot of people wanted, where they wanted to see a park that was actually in operation. So that was fun and exciting to see. And it was obviously you almost knew that how it was going to end with, the kind of, the fight that happens at the end between dinosaurs. You could see that coming, but it was fine and it was fun. And it was like almost I wanted to cheer while watching it kind of thing. Like I fully enjoyed it. And no, none of that bothered me at all. Like,
that's cool. What about the other point of contention, which was Bryce Dallas Howard running away from a dinosaur in high heels?
Well, it was funny because that's when I noted, my wife and I were watching it together because she hadn't seen it either. And that scene when she's standing there with a flare. I mean, I'm not giving anything away. Not that it matters at this point, but she's standing there with a flare waiting for this door to open. And it wasn't until that moment where I'm like, fuck, she's still in heels. Like, there's a wide shot of her, and I don't think you had really seen a wide shot of her like that in a while. And I'm like, God damn it, she's been running around in heels this whole time? Seriously? I mean, yeah, that crossed my mind. Do I really care? No. Whatever. Like, that's not the kind of thing that's going to bother me in a movie like this. Like, this is Jurassic World we're talking about. Like, if it had been like some really serious drama, then maybe something like that would maybe bother me more.
Right. It's really like you have to suspend reality at this point. I mean, you're watching a movie about dinosaurs, for God's sakes.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like, I think it was that moment too that you're talking about that I even thought too. I was like, is this bitch still in heels? Are you serious right now? Like, she's still running around in heels? Come on, man. We can't get her some flip-flops. We can't get her some shoes.
Really? Like she just doesn't decide, you know what? I think I'm just going to run around barefoot,
Yeah, anything, but she's going to rock the heels, all right?
Okay.
It's all part of the outfit. You got to coordinate.
Cool. Whatever you got to do. And while we're talking about things I've watched that, been around a while, and since we're about to talk about Luke Cage, I did catch up on season 1 of Daredevil at least. I watched basically half of that season this week. And
good for you, buddy. Good for you.
And again, I mean, to anybody listening, wondering why the fuck have I not watched this? I mean, I watched, I want to say, probably the first 2 episodes back when they were released, and I loved them. So this wasn't a matter of I didn't want to watch it. I'm not going to get into my schedule, but it just hasn't happened. And I've been wanting to watch this and getting back into it. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I mean, it is amazeballs as far as I'm concerned. And I think maybe you've said this, Bobby. I don't know if I'm getting this right, but at least I know this is how I feel. That, I mean, that first season of Daredevil, and I mean, I'll watch the second season, of course, and maybe I'll say this for both seasons, but that's the best thing I think Marvel has done, period. Like, I don't get me wrong, I love the films. The films are great, and I've said this before too, but I would trade having these characters in movies for having them on a Netflix, longer show like this in a heartbeat. And I know the argument would be with some of these characters, if they had a show instead, the effects wouldn't be there and you wouldn't be able to have the epic scenes. So a character like Daredevil is perfect for this. But it's perfect, and I loved it. I do have one thing though. And it's a super minor thing because, trust me, I thoroughly enjoyed Daredevil. I thought it was amazing. But I don't know about the mask. I'm not sure. There's something about the mask that doesn't do it for me. And maybe it's because, you watch that whole first season and he's in that black outfit, essentially the entire time. And he looks really great in it. And then when he gets in the suit, there's something about the mask that I can't pinpoint it. But there's something about it that doesn't work for me. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not great either. I don't know. Just
it does change. I don't know if it's the aesthetic of it, but it does change in season 2.
It does.
So, yeah, it looks a little bit different. I mean, it's not vastly different, but it does have a little bit of a different look to it.
Gotcha.
So you're a fan of the all black, but you're not a fan of the horns.
And it's not the horns necessarily. There's something about the mold onto his face. There's something about it that just looks a little, I don't know, just doesn't work. I can't even pinpoint or explain how I don't like it, but I don't. But I do like the black. There's something that looks good about that black outfit with just that, cloth over the top half of his head. Like, it just looks good. It looks more badass than that suit to me, I gotta say.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in between. Well, I mean, I definitely like the black. It grows on you. But being a traditionalist, right. I love seeing him in the suit.
And I'm coming from someone who I didn't read the comics. My only experience with Daredevil was the Ben Affleck movie. That's it. So, I should take note. That should be noted as well. But anyway, with that said, we got a little bit of time left, but we got to, of course, talk about Luke Cage. Luke Cage was released this past Friday. All 13 episodes, of course, on Netflix. We have all watched at least some of it. I know, Bobby, you have watched the whole season.
Yes.
Jascha, did you?
I finished it this afternoon.
So you have watched the whole thing. So I'm the only one. I watched 6 episodes.
I finished it this afternoon before the show, and then started watching Deadpool before the show. Because that was on.
But yeah, I watched 6 episodes. You guys both finished the whole season. I mean, obviously, we're not going to talk about spoilers with this if anyone's listening. But what did everybody think? Jascha, I'll just go to you first. What did you think of Luke Cage?
It was fantastic. It was everything that I wanted and still missed on stuff that I wanted. And I don't want to get into spoilers, but nothing that it missed on is anything that I'm like, oh, I really wish that they had done this, because you can see where they're going, and it's all just a show building and whatnot. I thought the show was fantastic, down from the music and the intro. It was very, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, David, when we were in the panel over at summer at Comic-Con, how he said he wanted to make a gangster film, like a gangster movie. This is very much a gangster type show. Like every aspect of it is very like, streets and mob bosses and everything to that effect. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, Bobby?
I'm going to echo most of what Jascha said, in that I really enjoyed this series a lot. There's so much going on with it in terms of the music and how that plays a part into things within the show and just within the score. And the other aspect that I really dug out of this is part of what you were talking about earlier, David, in terms of the benefit of seeing something in long form on Netflix as opposed to seeing it in a film. Within the context of what this character is capable of in terms of his strength and his invulnerability, you can do that very easily on TV, and in this sense, Netflix. And you don't have to have a full-length movie to show what he's capable of. And so I think it really lends itself to being on Netflix and getting to get more into the character, and also within the dialogue. I think a lot of the dialogue is just very good and feels very in tune to how people that I know talk that are Black, that it just feels authentic, and a lot of the situations feel authentic. I'd say at this point, if I did have any nitpicks, I would say sometimes it's a little heavy-handed with some of the messages that go on with it, but I get it. I understand why they kind of do it. But I'd say the only other thing that I would say about it in a negative sense is that, okay, this isn't spoiler, but it has to do with the structure of this show and within a lot of the Netflix shows in general, to where I think you can make a case for at least specifically within this show, you could definitely make a case for them having done maybe a certain amount of episodes and ended it as a season 1, and then come back in January and show the other episodes as a season 2, because there's a distinctiveness to a certain point in the series. So I would say maybe in order to sort of throw off the way the narrative of things are set up and the way it kind of runs, they might want to not just have to have 13 episodes. Maybe you split them up into seasons or shorten the time if they do it in a certain sort of way. But I can't really speak too much about it other than just to say that was one of the things that I did notice.
You know what, but I know exactly what you mean. But I feel like they could do that with just about every other show that they've done for Marvel, because they have this.
Yeah, I agree.
This this full sprint for the show, and then like around 6 or 7 episodes in, it feels like you've reached this resolution, and you're like, man, there's 5 episodes left. What the hell are they going to do? And it's like, and it's that type of unpredictability that they provide for us, especially for people that watch shows all the time. And I think I mentioned this before, that I think I just texted to you, Bobby. I love that I can't predict what's going to happen with these shows. And especially it's like when something big happens in the show and it feels like this is an episode ending show or a season ending show. And then you look at the time left and there's literally like 25 minutes left in this episode. And I'm like, what the hell are they going to address? What are they going to talk about right now? And I mean, I don't want them to do that because I love the 13 hours that they give us, in 13 episodes. But I see what you're saying. And I love the fact that it's that kind of intensity offered for the show when it comes to Daredevil seasons 1 or 2. And, Jessica Jones, especially because towards the middle to the end of the season, every episode was kind of cliffhanger. It's like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And then it was the same thing with Luke Cage. It's just you're constantly on edge, kind of just like, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? And I dug it. I love it. I mean, and they didn't disappoint even with the last episode. You're still just like, wow, this is amazing. This is fantastic.
Well, yeah, I watched 6 episodes of it, so I'm basically halfway through. Not technically, but whatever. And yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit as well. Pretty much everything you guys have said. The music, the way music is used in it, the artists that appear in it at the club, all really great. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it that you guys haven't. I will say, having just watched the first season of Daredevil and then going right into this, I mean, I can't help but compare, and I can't say it's at the Daredevil season 1 level for me. Like, if I had to pick, well, what's better so far, I'd still say I think I enjoyed Daredevil more than this. But that's just a pretty high mark to compare to. So this is still quite good. I highly, highly recommend it, and yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Cool. Yeah, it's another, obviously, as we're all sort of saying, it looks like it's another winner for Marvel and Netflix.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, it's interesting when you make the comment, Bobby, about the way it's spaced, especially considering where I am in the show. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Okay. I thought one thing, but maybe not. And it's funny too, because I remember I thought about that when I was watching Daredevil, and don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed pretty much every episode of that season. But yeah, you could have a couple episodes in the middle where you do feel like, okay, we're just kind of like moving things along. And part of me wonders, like, I'm curious why 13 episodes? Why did they go with that format? Like you look at a show like Game of Thrones and it's always 10. I would have, expected Netflix to be like, oh, let's just do 10. Why 13? I don't know.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if that ever changes in any regard based on any kind of feedback that people get, because I do think that is a theme that tends to run through a lot of the Netflix series shows, not just the Marvel ones, but any ones that have the 13 episode format to them. It feels like some of the episodes are just trying to push you through in order to get to that 13, whereas it really could seem like it could be told in 7 or 8 episodes or 9 or 10 or whatever the case may be. So I think, maybe it'll be something they'll have to look at in the future.
Right.
And not, if there's anybody listening, we're not saying shorten it by any means. Like, don't get that in your head saying like, oh, well, we should just, that would save us money. It's like, please don't do that. Like, I am thoroughly enjoying the format of 13 episodes a season. So,
right. Exactly. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. As always, we'd love to know what you heard about, what you thought about everything we've talked about. You can let us know by emailing us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and YouTube. You can find links to those accounts at our website. Just look over on the right-hand side. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Jascha Wilson.
Thanks for listening.